So, namaste, beautiful souls. Welcome and thank you for watching. I'm Gabrielle, retired medium in Germany, and I like to share some of my otherworldly experiences and insights. Today, I'm with a friend, Dewayne, who is on his path and is experiencing interesting things. And just recently, he had something about energy and contacted me because he had some questions. He came to me, I think it's 2 years ago now, as a client with kind of feeling a pressure always on the third eye region and kind of seeing flashes of light from the peripheral view from the corner of his eyes. And if you Google that, you got to run to a doctor because Google tells you your retina is going loose from your eye. So I told him, no, I have the same. I think it's kind of spirits flashing up, and you see lights from the peripheral view. And this kind of, it's not painful, but you feel just the presence of this point, and sometimes it's vibrating or like a slight pressure upon that point. And I have that nearly all the time. And I don't think it's something physical. I think it's starting psychic senses coming online. So here we go. Dewayne, what was your story? I really liked that story.
So first of all, I would like to say thank you, Gabriel, for having me on your show. And as you said, I've been experiencing these symptoms for the better part of maybe 2 years. I think these symptoms, yeah, definitely are related to like my spiritual awakening, and slowly I'm moving through them. And I've been having, as you shared, I've been having many interesting and intense experiences. And maybe the first one that I would like to share is, so currently I am doing a sort of a shamanic training course where we're learning like different tools, different modalities, how to work with energy. And I've been practicing at home these modalities, right? So one of the modalities that stood out to me was geopathy. So this is the sensing of energies within your living space. And the way that we go about with this exercise is that we employ the use of dowsing rods. So during the one of the modules of my shamanic training, the shaman he kind of went through the instructions of how to assess energies in the living spaces. So with that, I came back home and I can't say I was 100% on board and believe that something would happen, but I came back home and I started to douse my apartment. Um, so I walked through my apartment with the dowsing rods, and they crossed at exactly the same place over and over. And I did that for about 20 times, 20 different times on different days, and the dowsing rods would cross at the same place. So then what we were told to do is to take a crystal and just with intention ask the crystal to help to balance the energy in this place. I went ahead and I did that, and surprisingly it worked, and my rods would not cross anymore. So I was like, okay. um, to be honest, I couldn't tell a difference with the energy in my apartment, but I think for whatever reason, I think that the energy was balanced, and it does feel a little bit lighter in my space, but not a drastic change. Yeah. And then what I intuitively received is that sometimes it's not matter of it being a low vibrational energy of some sort. It could just be that it just requires some energetic balance and realignment. Um, so following that, a few months later, I have a friend. She has a hypnotherapy practice, and we were talking about this topic, and I told her about my experience, and she was curious, and she invited me over to her apartment. And I bought my dowsing rods with me. And actually, before that, she actually I explained the procedure and how to do the practice, and she went ahead and she purchased her own dowsing rods, and she went through the exercise in her apartment, and the rods were crossing at certain locations. And she sent me a video, and she's like, Dewayne, like, what is this? The rods keep crossing. The rods keep crossing. And I'm like, okay, don't tell me exactly where it is. I'll come over and I'll kind of do a test as well to see if my rods would cross in the same location. So yeah, I met her one afternoon, and I brought my rods with me, and I went through her apartment, and the rods crossed at two. Initially, the rods crossed at two locations, and she was like, wow, this is the same spot, the same two spots that the rods crossed for her. The first spot she shared on the video with me, but I still couldn't locate it in her apartment. And then the second spot she didn't even tell me about. So my rods crossed in the same two positions as her rods. I have to say she's a bit of a skeptic. However, she was surprised to see that, yeah, I kind of confirmed the two areas where she was picking up in her apartment. So I went ahead and I did I asked her to put some intention to balance and harmonize the energy in the spot in some of her crystals, and we placed them close to where we were receiving that energetic um, difference. And then we both ran through our apartment again, and the rods would not cross. So we said, okay, it seems like what we've done here works. So now she asked me to go into her bedroom with her. So we did the exercise in the bedroom, and the rods kept crossing over this box. It was a box that she had in her bedroom, and it was filled with books and toys and old clothes, and the rods kept crossing over the box. And we were like, okay, what's in this box? And we tried moving the box to different locations, and the rods would cross over the box. So we were sure it was not a specific spot. We were sure it was something that was in the box.
Yes.
So then we started to unpack the box and do the rods over different items. And then we filtered it down to this stuffed rhino. Um, Rods kept crossing over this stuffed rhino. We moved the rhino maybe 6 different times to 6 different locations in our apartment, and the rods kept crossing. So I started to ask her some questions. I'm like, okay, so what's the history of this rhino, this stuffed toy? And she told me that it was a gift from one of her friends who went to Africa and brought it back to her. So I I didn't receive any hits on the energy of the rhino. The only thing that I was able to see was to physically see the rods crossing. Um, Previous to that, I visited her, and I think this all ties back into what we discovered about the rhino. I remember visiting her and seeing two flashes of light, like two orbs, and I didn't know that it actually was related to the rhino until I shared the story and got that feedback. So maybe to start, maybe Gabrielle, you can tell me maybe you can share what you're picking up so far from that story.
Yes, it's a wonderful story. Practice what you learned in your shamanic workshop, and do it at home, and do it with other people. Even skeptics, they are best because they don't believe just anything. And doing the test several times, her and you, and finding out it's something within the box. It's not the place where the box is located. That's already great. You're doing wonderful work as a detective, detecting energy. So now you sat there with a stuffed animal, a rhino, and the rods were crossing over the rhino. So there is clearly some energy attached to the rhino. She does not need to know what and where and when it happened. And the history of the rhino also does not bring so much about. But when you told me that you kind of saw these two flashes of light like orbs, but you ignored them, when you told me that, I instantly got a kind of a flash image inside, and I saw kind of energy attached to the orbs, and they were about this rhino. And well, we found out it's the energy of kids. And I funnily found out when I was quite often so in the so-called beyond, where normally spirits of deceased loved ones go. It's kind of in English tradition called the summer land of the spiritists. So when I was there, it was always perfect green grass, no decay, nothing, always flowers in their best shape and never withering. And through the meadows of green grass, there were running animals playing in the sun and children. And I asked myself when I saw all these children playing there, oh my God, are these all dead children, And then one child came running towards me and said, no, I'm just having a nap. So then I learned and understood, oh, when you are sleeping, and for children and animals, that's very easy, much easier to us grown-ups. We have to remember and relearn that. It's the travel mode of the soul to kind of implode into this orb of light and then go around and have a look, discovering stuff. And children, of course, they are attracted to places where they can perceive light. And of course, they're also attracted to stuffed animals like a rhino or something, a toy. And as your friend has a practice as a hypnotherapist, of course, that is a place that kind of lights up in the other dimensions with more light because there is transformative work happening when she's doing the hypnosis sessions with her clients. So, of course, that is like in the fairy tales of the two lost children in the wood, in the forest, everything is dark, and suddenly they see a light and they go for the light. So that's how it happens in the astral. So these two kids went as two blue orbs for the light place that lit up in their perception, and they found this rhino and they attached to it just playfully. It wasn't a feeling of negative energy or anything like that. So, I get images when somebody tells me real stories, something he or she really experienced. If it's made up, I don't get anything. That to me already is kind of a little proof that that person is not talking from experience. There is no charged emotional energy attached to the situation. So that when you told me about the blue orbs, boom, there I had the two children. And I had this funny thing happening once in my mediumship trainment. Not a very comfortable situation for me. It was kind of a test in front of all the other participants of the trainment. So 50 people looking at me and my teachers, and they put in front of me another member of the trainment. And the first thing I got about her was I was seeing a Japanese cherry flower branch, you know. So I started kind of cautiously asking her, you have anything to do with Japan or Japanese tradition? I see a branch with cherry flowers. And she said, no. You know, she couldn't place it. She was maybe not conscious enough. But my teachers always said, never allow to get off of your path of perception if the person is saying no, because they might not have a broader vision to place it. And this cherry tree wasn't going away because it wasn't addressed by her. So I could not get more or different other pictures. It was kind of standing still. And I tried around it again and again, but she just said, no, 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 as if she was full of resistance. So that was very uncomfortable for me, especially in the test situation, everybody looking at me. And then I tried to kind of bring it at least to some kind of closing. Um, and in the next coffee break, this woman was swarming around one of my teachers who has the honorable doctorate of the Japanese Homeopathic Society. She learned Zen Buddhism with a Japanese master, and she has a Japanese friend that comes and visits her. So this lady who always said no to me about the cherry tree, she was swarming around her, trying to get her attention and smearing honey around her mouth, you know, like many people do in the workshops. They're all upon the guru, the teacher, you know. And she said, oh, that's so great that you have this honorable doctorate and the Japanese Homeopathic Society and your Japanese Zen training. And I thought, there it is. And she couldn't place it, you know. So, well, I still wonder what a person like that, unaware, is searching in a mediumship trainment, but that's not up to me. So I already learned quite a lot of stuff, kind of the hard way, by experiencing it myself. Because reading a book, you can read as many books as you like. It's the own experience, in my eyes, that really brings kind of solutions and brings up stuff you could never imagine or analyze or think about. So that is funny that these two kids kind of were a little bit fighting about the rhino. Whose is it? You know, that's
Mhm.
like little boys very often start playing. So that is a wonderful story. And I really like how you went about, you know, with testing and counter testing and stuff like that, because that is really in my eyes, the best way to find out, you know. You just don't do the dowsing rods or the kinesiological muscle test one time with, is it true? You
Yeah.
have to also ask counter questions to become more certain, you know, like, am I making this up? No or yes, you know. And that's why I loved your story so much. And
Yeah.
about energy, there's so much to say. That's kind of the first step, in my eyes, to sense into your own surroundings or people or places. How does that feel? And using a tool like dowsing rods in your own apartment, yes, every 1 or 2 meters, there is kind of an energy line crossing that's called the curry net, from one physic guy who found that out. Because the Earth does not only have the meridian, the ley line system, the straight lines, it also has like in our body, you know, we have the great arteries and veins, and then we have the smaller blood vessels. So there are also a lot of smaller energy lines in the earth, and they are invisible to the naked eye, but you can find them easily with dowsing rods or one-hand tensors. And nearly every meter there is a crossing. So some of these crossings, they are kind of positive because of the energy. That's usually where dogs lay down in your house if you have a dog as a pet. And cats, they like the negative crossings because they are transformers of negative energy. So where the cat lays down in your flat, you better should not spend your whole day 24/7 hours, because that energy isn't so good for the human body. In ancient times, people, before they constructed a house, they made their cattle go upon this kind of piece of land, and where the cattle laid down, the cows, and maybe they used their dogs as well. There they knew that is a good energy zone where you can build your house. Nowadays, you just buy an area and you put your house there. Nobody is thinking about geomancy and the earth energetic lines. Sometimes we even have water veins going directly through our home, and some people, unaware, place their bed upon that. This is not a good influence because it's kind of as if you are the whole night sleeping in a little river that makes you cold, and the water is flowing even if it's underground. The energy of the water is taking from your energy body, as if you're bathing far too long for 8 hours, so you cannot really recover and refresh in your sleep. So that's a good idea to use dowsing rods to find out what's maybe in your home. And you can balance that with sending positive intention or using a crystal that always strengthens the focus and the intention. And you can balance out little energy disbalances or points of that easily in your own flat and maybe in the flat of a friend as well. So that's a great story about energy. And just one thing more, if you, like but I inherited a lot of antique furniture from my husband because he loved to collect that. Of course, I tested all these furniture parts, and they have no negative attachments. They have only his positive attachment, and from the four owners, I could not detect anything negative. But when I was younger and experimenting a lot, used an antique mirror to do the mirror meditation, stare at yourself into that mirror. Suddenly, these, like an overlay, these faces with rococo wigs, these weird gray wigs appeared, and I couldn't relate to that because that does not touch me in any way. And I thought, no, that cannot have anything to do with me. What's that? And luckily, I talked about that, and another friend of mine said, oh, you have to use a new mirror. An antique mirror might reflect some of the former owner's pictures and stuff like that. So that made sense to me. Then I took a mirror that only I had looked into, that was not 500 years old, and so. And then staring at myself, in the end, I got this lion face as an overlay. And how I later found out that I'm from the star system Vega and Lyra, where kind of the reptilian attack upon the feline Lyran world happened, that started making sense. In the moment when I saw the lion face, I did not know what to do with that lion. I always loved cats. I'm more a cat person than a dog person, but I love nearly all animals. So it's interesting what one can find out if you start just following the energy and sensing stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe just two things that I wanted to expand on that you mentioned. The first thing was the ley lines that someone may have in their, for example, in their sleeping room, right? Maybe you could talk a little bit of what are some of the side effects, for example, if you sleep where a ley line crosses, right? Like what could manifest physically, what could manifest mentally. Maybe you could expand on that a little bit. And then the second point is it was interesting that you talked about the spirit of the two boys. To me, it was new to me to find out that this could actually be like spirits that are currently alive, a part of spirits that are a part of beings that are currently alive, because I always thought that it was just spirits, that beings that have passed on and are and are in the astral, that could interact in our reality. So for me, that was kind of new as well. And my other question is, do adults also do this? Yeah. So, kids are a little bit more playful and they're a little bit more connected, I would say, as well. But are we also as adults able to do this same type of activity?
Yes, I thought the same when I started kind of my soul journey and my mediumship trainment. I thought it's the spirits of the deceased. If you see orbs or find them on your photographs and stuff like that. But then I really found out, I came across researching orbs. I came across pictures that other people took. I'm far too slow, you know. I never managed to get some, and at least not consciously. I found them later on my photographs when I enhanced them in the computer. But, I came across pictures and photographs of orbs where there was clearly a face in there, visible for me to see. And it was once the face of a dog, the face of a bear, and the face of a man. And I even once saw in an orb photographed kind of a tiny spaceship, that was funny as well. So by that, I followed the line about, astral travel and all that. And the Merkaba is that kind of invisible sacred geometry within every life form that can kind of be used to travel astrally. We humans have to relearn that, and there are courses, kind of how to spin your Merkaba and then travel astrally by that. But most people do it intuitively in their sleep, because when you sleep, you put your body to rest, and the subtle energy bodies, the etheric, the astral, and the mental, and the soul complex, they are leaving the body and traveling through dimensions, through the astral and whatever, meet with your soul family and commune with them and get advice or help or whatever you are up to. And children, of course, because they are more open, they do that instinctively without knowing what they are doing. And they are traveling, and you don't have to be dead to fly around as an orb. And even when I did this experiment about an OBE travel with two friends to the King's Chamber in the Giza pyramids, afterwards, one friend asked, well, we met at 8 o'clock in Europe. I don't know what's the time then in Egypt at the Giza pyramids, and whether there was public in there, as what would they maybe have perceived us. And I thought, well, when we were there, I did not perceive any other people in there. I think it was closed. But if somebody would have been in there a little bit sensitive, he or she might have seen us as these little light orbs, flowing around in the king's chamber. So that's it. You don't have to be dead to astral travel, and we're doing it nearly every night. Only as a grown-up, we do it intuitively because the body knows how to do that. And if you want to do it kind on purpose, then you need a course and somebody explain the structure to you, what to do, step 1, step 3, and so on. And it's just a natural thing, even if you just close your eyes, that's the first signal to the vagus nerve in the body to relax, because every night we close our eyes, and that's the signal for the body, oh, now relaxing time, we're going to sleep. And that's already kind of engraved and entrained. So, um, I think I lost my thread of thoughts. Could you please repeat what else you wanted to know? There was
Uh,
some.
yeah, that was perfect. Thank you so much, Gabrielle. Yes, my second question was around the ley lines.
Ah, okay. So I don't know that much about it. It was an English guy who was kind of measuring landmarks, I think 100 or 150 years ago. Don't even remember his name. Sorry for that. And he found out that there are energy lines going from, one church on a hill to an old stone circle. And it is kind of all the sacred sites are aligned via this ley line energy grid all around the globe. And that is always the straight line, no matter whether there are hills and valleys and whatever, it's a straight line. So it is kind of an energy construct that formed by building sacred sites on special points of the Earth's meridian system, like in the Chinese medicine, you have these meridians where you can use acupuncture needles on special points to enhance energy flow or decrease something, There are special points. Some are kind of the alarm points, other are calming points, and the acupuncture people know where and how to put the needles. And I think I'm not the only one. There are luckily others thinking the same, that these ancient cultures put and placed sacred monuments and sacred sites exactly on these points to kind of strengthen the earth grid and the flow of positive white divine light in the ley line grid. So it's quite rare that you have a ley line node point directly in your flat, but it can happen. If you are sensitive and you stay for time, let's say it's under your bed, then you stay at least 7 or 8 hours kind of in a very special energy crossing. So it should only have positive effects because the ley lines are they are positive energy, and well, it might even end up that you have problems with sleeping because it's kind of energized. Well, how's the word? It's giving
Energizing.
more energy and you're energetized, and that might be difficult then to sleep. I have a lot of problems with insomnia, but it's not because there's a ley line under my bed. I think it's the high energies coming right in waves, and many people feel that. So you should always care that your sleeping space is kind of free of interference, whatever kind of quality the a vein of underground water is more negative because it's taking away and draining your energy, and a positive ley line point or something like that should kind of give more energy up to the point that you maybe have difficulties to sleep there because you get kind of a rush of energy all the time.
Mhm.
So it's important to care for your sleeping place. And I don't think that ley lines do anything kind of negative or bad because they're all connected with all these sacred sites around the world. And they were built by our forefathers with knowledge that we still have to remember and rediscover. They put a lot of emphasis onto sound because there are resonating chambers in the pyramids, and in a lot of temples, and even the cathedrals and churches are built like that, that they have a resonance chamber where this energy can resonate and kind of work on the people who go there. So that's one thing. The other thing, just the normal called telluric earth magnetic lines. They are not straight lines. They are more like the little blood vessels in our body. They can cross and do whatever and branch out more into finer and thinner lines. That is a form of magnetism of the earth. And as far as I know, I don't understand everything. A lot of UFOs fly along these lines, and this kind of how's it called? Anti-gravity is a byproduct of magnetism. So we still don't understand how to build kind of flying machines with working on 0 point energy, not the corrupted energy of atom splitting or burning fuel and stuff like that that we still use. They are moving along magnetic lines, and they use that kind of as their their propulsion system, because magnetism has as a byproduct anti-gravity, and with that you can hover and fly and levitate and do all that kind of stuff that's said about constructing the sacred sites, like Stonehenge. There are all these legends that the stones levitated by themselves and flew there, or the giant figures at the Easter Island. They are said in the lore to have walked there by themselves, maybe also flying and hovering. This idea of levitating stones in construction of sacred sites is all over the world, and still with our technique and cranes and whatever and what have you, we are still not able to reconstruct, even in a smaller measurement, some of the sacred sites. The Japanese tried to build the Giza pyramids, and they failed. They tried to lift stones that were above all kind of normal weight, and they couldn't, even not with a crane. So they're still wondering, how did these ancients that are kind of, to us it's told they were primitive, they were not, they knew so much more than we do. How did they construct Nan Madol, for example, because that is made of giant stone blocks and columns, and it's all one upon the other, and it's just miraculous. So I think that was a bit long, sorry.
No, no problem. And maybe one thing here. So with the dowsing rods, right? And assessing energy in a space. I was taught so far to be that we could use crystals to, for example, balance these energies. Is there anything else that we could use instead of, if someone doesn't have a crystal? I mean, could we use our intention, or maybe that is a bit too advanced? What are your thoughts on that? What other tools could we use?
Well, I think I've always been up to the closest and nearest and most simple and practical things, because when I was hiking in the jungle in Brazil, I did not carry a lot of stuff with me around, not to speak of dowsing rods. So that's why I came up with the kinesiological muscle test. Your fingers you always have with you. And if you learn to focus your energy on an intent, and you set an intent and send positive energy to maybe a disbalanced place or point in your flat, or on your whoever in your garden, um, This is work with energy directly because you send out your intent that this place shall come into balance and shall be good and positive. So you're sending out also emotions like love and kindness and asking for a balancing out and stuff like that. So that is the real energy work. You don't even need tools. And I met a man who could just with his fingers, he was crossing his arms in the hanging position. He could find out where there were water veins in my flat. He didn't even use a dowsing rod, he used his whole body. You can also use your whole body as kind of a one-hand biotensor or dowsing rods. If you have your arms just hanging, not like that, hanging, and you stand still and feel into a place, then you work with the question, is this place balanced out and okay? And you always get via your biofeedback resonance system, which is our body that really answers. Every cell has wisdom we don't know about. Your body will react. If the answer to your question is a yes, you will feel as if you're falling forward,
Mm,
which is usually from the tensor, the motion for a yes. And if the answer is a no, you will feel as if you're falling back. So you can use your body like a pendulum and you don't need any tools. And you can do that. You can ask questions because I found out spirit world and the whole energetic field around you works best with questions. If you don't ask, you don't get an answer. And if you ask after that, you have to really go inside and sense and feel, what am I getting? Might be a word, might be a feeling, might be an image, depends on which of your psychic senses is already online, more or less. But you can feel it. I'm clear sentient. That's kind of the first rung of the ladder of the clear senses. I feel stuff. I can feel energy. I can feel presences. And with training, I get images and sometimes I hear a word or even short sentences. A whole novel you will not get. That's probably from the ego because the ego always complicates everything and uses a lot of words, while spirit world is short and concise and just saying, that's good, that's okay, or that is not good, and stuff like that. So you can use your whole body and find out best before you do anything else. Clear your own space, and you can do that with intent. You can even invite, connect with white light source, all that is. It's within us, around us, and in everything that is. You can call upon it, invoke it, and ask it to clear your whole flat or your whole space and to balance out everything that is kind of in disharmony. So by that you can already do a lot. But crystals are a wonderful tool as well because they kind of augment and strengthen your intention that you send out, and they make it kind of more and stronger because they are, well, how to call them? They are the highest form, kind of evolutionary of the mineral kingdom. So they are special kinds of stones, not just rocks, but they are crystallized. They are used in computer technology to store data. Stones have kind of a memory much longer than we have with our false history. And they are neutral. If you ask them to do something for you, they do it because they're just open and positive. And if you focus attention on a crystal and ask it to balance out a space in your flat that you detected, however, with dowsing rods or your own body being used as a pendulum, that stone will do that. That crystal will help and will kind of increase the energy and the intent and the result. So that's well, doing it even better and having more energy because the crystal is doing an increase, but it's already working with our intention, and we underestimate our intention and the thoughts. Thoughts become things. That's the first step in the creation process. So if you have your thoughts going wild, like a hose in the garden that no hand is guiding to a plant to water it, and we are like that, you think of this, you think of that, and then the other, and stuff like that. So our monkey mind is always chattering and kind of running loose and going wild. And focus is put it onto one point, a line, and speak out aloud or have it firmly as a thought in your head what it is that you want. I want this place in balance and cleared and cleansed and stuff like that. So everything we speak, the words, is sound. So creation happens via light and sound. That's like intention, focus, and speak out what you want. And it's also the sound, the vibration. And if you really mean the words you say, then
Mhm.
you're kind of doing what in ancient times was called magic, as if you're speaking magic spells, because everything around you is in reality energy. You are in an ocean or a soup of energy. People who can perceive energy, they can see kind of swirling colors, or it looks like pieces of mist or clouds that are flowing around, and they always move in circles or in waves. That's how energy moves. And the colors are the first kind of quality of energy by which you can find out what kind of energy am I dealing with, Of course, black and dark energy and dark clouds, I don't have to explain that. You're already smiling. That is so obvious what that is. And all the lighter pastel colors or radiating shiny colors, of course, they are more positive energy, positive thoughts. And we have to learn to focus our thoughts and not go wild. And especially when we do energy work, you really have to focus and best speak out aloud what it is you want to happen. And the invisible atoms around you in your quantic field, they will follow your orders. You are the master of your auric field. Even if society told you you're just a small little human, what do you think you can do and whatever? We're so infiltrated with all this stuff that we forgot about the most important things, that we are energy beings as well, and we have power and might, and we can command our auric field. I cannot control how another person feels, but I can control my own state of being, because if I'm sad or I don't feel good, I can ask myself, do I want to feel like that? And if the answer is no, well, then I can do something about it and do something that lifts me up, like singing or chanting or dancing or doing garden work or watching my birds at the feeding station. How funny they are. Do something what helps you and what uplifts you. Might not be the same for your neighbor, but you know what feels good to you, and you can do something for that.
Mhm. One thing I've noticed, as I go through my awakening and the different spiritual practices that I had, at first I really did not have clear intentions. And I think you made a very valid point about intentions. I mean, once I started to have clear and concrete intentions and vocalize these intentions, that's when things changed for me overnight. You know, like I'm really uh, kind of now in tune with the experiences that I'm having because of the intentions that I've set. So for me, the intentions, having intentions, having clear intentions has only helped to benefit like my spiritual growth, you know, like for example, in the shamanic training, we utilize some plant medicine as well. And for every ceremony, some of us we make these clear intentions. I always make my intention going into a ceremony. Okay, what would I like to experience? What is the what would I like to learn? And every time that I have a clear intention, believe it or not, I always get the answers based on the intentions that I've set. So for me, it is really important to have clear intentions and to sometimes vocalize the intentions. I don't think we have to vocalize them all the time, but it does help when we're setting our intentions, right?
I think in the beginning it helps because if you speak something with a strong, firm voice, you can already feel there is power in that. And if you can maintain that in your kind of silently speaking in your head as well, then you're on the good side. Then you're already kind of learning how to focus. I did not know that in the beginning as well. I had to learn it also the hard way, falling down and kind of getting my knees hurt. You know, I was sometimes in the beginning kind of vague, as my ascendant is Libra, and Libra is for all the beauty and the truth and wonderful things, but it loves to stay a bit vague, you know, kind of a bit addicted to harmony. And I was not specific enough in some of the things I said. If you kind of open up with an unspecific, means not detailed explanation, whom you want to allow into your field or channel or have contact with, like, um, oh, please, all the aliens help me and make my pain go away. Well, you might invite exactly the ones you don't want to have tinker with you. You have to be specific and say only the good spirits of the light or positive spirits. Because if you say only ETs or only spirits come all to me, well, you invite the negative as well. And this is clearly not what you want. So I had to learn to become specific that I only allow messages and spirits of high power and high positive light into my field. And then I check on the energy as well. If I cannot verify the sender of a message, sometimes, boom, just something is coming into me. Um, well, then I have to check on the quality of the message or the quality of the energy. And if that feels positive, then I go and work with that. But if there is anything off and I feel like, you know, this inside kind of resisting, and it's a very good idea to watch your or observe your solar plexus because that's the seat of intuition, of the gut feeling, and anything no good for you, kind of the solar plexus is closing, and you can feel that in your body. Every cell is kind of closing. When I listened in the beginning to a little test in music, you know, because I started being interested in sound and music as well. I came across this 440 hertz, the normal tuning, and then the 432 hertz of my handpan and the natural instruments. And I always felt as if these natural instruments open up every cell and I can kind of bathe in the sound and the music much more than the usual pop music from the radio, because that's all 440 hertz. So I came across a video of a guy, a guitarist, who tuned his guitar in the two ways and did not tell you which was which, and played a little bit in 440 and a little bit in 232. And the test was, what did you feel? And in with 440, everything kind of closed up and I was in resistance. And with 432, just every cell opened up. And so that was a wonderful test I came across. And that also taught me to feel more, because your body is a resonance system and it's telling you really what's going on, whether it likes the energy or not, you know.
Yeah, that gut feeling, right? That is tied into the solar plexus. Yeah, that is very important.
It
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
And even, heady people, intellectually, everything analyzing, they sometimes have a very strong and good gut feeling, but they ignore it. That's the problem. Because our society trains us so much and conditions us to make our life with the head, as if that is the whole thing. That is like if you have two legs and you come only on one leg, because what's with the rest of the world? That's energy and that's feeling, and we ignore the heart and the gut feeling far too much and try to use the brain too much. So there is already disbalance. And just using your everyday with little exercises to feel into something is a good method to kind of strengthen your focus, to observe your feelings and how you feel inside. The observer effect is a very interesting thing. You don't have to judge yourself or praise yourself. You really stay neutral as an observer and just notice and watch what's going on within you.
Mm,
And that is far more interesting than the world outside sometimes. And you don't need all the doom and gloom stories from outside, because this is much nearer and there you can learn and train.
mm. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I am now more often tuning into my gut feeling, but sometimes I still the ego still overrides the gut feeling, right? So,
That's normal. And you can have the experience if you notice your gut feeling and you ignore it and then watch what happens.
mm,
Mostly, I found out whenever I ignored these impulses, it went south. So that also brings you to listening to them, because then things flow smoothly because they're in line with the energy and everything is going fine. If something starts out complicated already and gets worse and worse and worse, that to me is kind of as if the life force or the universe is saying, no, please don't go this way.
mm,
No. And I learned to listen to that, because even being rebellious, whenever I did ignore it and did not listen and act upon that, everything went south.
absolutely, yeah. And then maybe to wrap up the topic of the toys, the energy in my friend's flat. I don't know if I told you, but then I think validation is always pretty amazing, right? So she contacted me a couple weeks after that, and she said she had a client. She had a session with a client who was also a psychic. And the client confirmed that there were two energies attached to the toy. She said it was two masculine energies, the young energies. So that was pretty interesting to see validation as well come through on that hit. So yeah, that was pretty interesting experience.
Yes. That's what I love about my mediumship trainment in the English tradition. It's about evidential mediumship. You go and look for confirmation and proof, because that also builds more trust into your own intuition and into your psychic senses. that they are coming online. We all have them. They're just not trained, like a muscle untrained, you know. If you go to the gym, you have to start with doing something. And if you want to really walk your soul path, then you also have to do and learn and exercise some of your abilities and psychic senses. That's true. And it's a good way. I think it's the best thing. My spirit guides more or less told me that's where we are going to. Humanity will become more and more sensitive. Some will not like that, but the ones who want to learn and open up and understand themselves and the world and everything, the universe much better, for them that's the right way. And we are also heading quasi towards telepathy, which is much more effective, you know. Then we need hours and hours to explain ourselves and get the topics right and whatever, and so many words and air. And what I get from spirit world sometimes, it's just boom, you know, hit the nail, and no much ado about it, you know, nothing like hours and hours of talking and explaining and blah, blah, blah. It's just boom, there is the thought, and that's it. And I love it, you know, I love practical stuff, and I just want to get confirmation as well, still, even as a trained medium with 15 years of practice with clients and everything. I still sometimes feel I need the confirmation because that builds more trust into my own abilities. And you don't always get that, you know. You, from a certain point on, I think a bit more advanced, you only get certain confirmations, not every time. You know, I had a client, a very nice young man, a bit of a hippie type with long hair and everything like that, and he wanted a QHHT. So I visited him in his home, and in the fore talk before the hypnosis, he said he has sometimes a weird feeling in his flat, as if there is still somebody in there. And when he said that, I saw an older man walking through the room. So that was clearly a spirit of a deceased who had lived maybe in that flat before. I asked him whether he know who lived in that flat before him. He didn't know, so there was no confirmation possible. And as I perceive deceased spirits of deceased ones, they are nebulous, not really concise or concrete. They are more subtle energy and transparent, and they are always kind of grayish, in
Mm.
a grayish nebulous form where I can detect a face and certain features. And so he could not place that older man. And then I went and touched the wall and set an intent that the white light of source, please come and clear this flat from all former energies of former inhabitants. And please also guide this earthbound kind of stuck spirit of the elderly man that was still present in the flat to where he belongs, into the light. And I called upon Archangel Michael and Raphael to guide this man to where he belongs, heaven or whatever, you know, where his frequency is matching. And I always ask the angels to guide deceased persons into the light, because I know there is also false light, and I want to I want to send them the right way to the right light. And with the angels, I make sure, and everybody can use that and say that if they have the feeling there is somebody, maybe a grandma or a former owner still living in their house, you can call upon the white light and the two archangels, Michael and Raphael, to guide these spirits to where they belong and clear the space and fill it with white light.
Mhm.
And well, at night, when I was home after the QHHT with that young man, I suddenly, shortly before falling asleep, I saw his flat from outside, as if I'm standing in the street and looking up to his flat in the third floor. And I saw it was totally white, with white light, the whole flat. And I thought by myself, oh, wow, thank you for the confirmation, you know. Now I was able to see that my work went well, you know. And that's not always happening, but in the beginning, you get a lot of confirmation because the spirit world and your spirit guides know you need this to build more trust. And when you are trusting your inner senses, then you only get it sometimes because you don't need it every time. Like, you know, a child learning to use the bicycle and falling down and crying, you say, come on, try it again and again, and you're doing great, and just carry on. That's how spirit world works with us as well, you know, is my idea, because it feels like.
Mm. It's like they guide you with the training wheels and then they slowly
Exactly.
remove them. They're still there though, but with less how would you say it? With less I don't know, but you know what I mean, right? So they surround us and they give us the validation and the proof that we need. But once we're able to stand up on our own feet, then they kind of step back and let us move forward
Yes, and
alone.
that's what you would do as a good parent if you always kind of remove all the obstacles from your child's path. That child will never grow up and will not know whether it can trust in its own abilities or not. So we need this, and I feel like a trainee from Spirit World, and I'm grateful for all the things I'm allowed to learn and see and understand. And I'm also grateful for the mysteries because they keep me curious, and I still have a lot of stuff that I would like to learn and understand better. So it's really enjoying your soul journey. It's not hard work. You're allowed to play like a child, and we're always guided and guarded and watched over. And if you get just a glimpse of that, that you have a team around you all the time, whether you're aware or not, and they really want your best. Your
Mhm,
own soul wants your best. It planned pre-birth this incarnation with the wonderful experiences you have. Some may not be wonderful, but the essence you will have afterwards, that's kind of the jewel you are harvesting, you know. And unfortunately, humans learn the most if it's painful and maybe some negative touch as well. But we need to learn, you know, if everything is happy ever after all the time, you
mhm,
don't even move your ass 1 centimeter.
mhm,
So we need some challenging stuff to carry on and grow more.
mhm. And they want us to stand in our power and to actually
Exactly.
realize that we are also parts of source itself, creators, right?
Yes. Source does not think in above and below like humans. It wants us on the same eyes height, you know, grown up. And that's what we are meant to. As a fractal of Source, we have all the possibilities, all the abilities. It's only up to us what we follow through with and what we want to kind of manifest in our reality as a talent or whatever, you know.
Great. Thank you so much, Gabrielle.
Oh, I thank you to share this little chat that we have sometimes. Some of these little chats just writing with SMS. And it's a back and forth and confirming when you something don't know, or sometimes I ask you. You know, that's how spirit also kind of furthers that we come together as a group and exchange and help each other, because in the end we're all one. Quantum physics says that, and the ancient masters or sages and saints always said the same as well. We're all one. So if I help you, I help myself, and if you help me, you help yourself, and we're both helped. So that's kind of a wonderful thing to learn also group work, because in that, the ego lessons, it's not so important any longer to be whatever, we're coming together kind of on the same equal level. And that's also some kind of trainment how to behave as souls with each other, because human behavior is very different. We are still trained in the society and this above and below, and that one is more than me, he has a bigger car or whatever. It's all kind of measurement, about quantity, how much you have, not what you are, and how much you already realized of your own inner potential. So I think spirit world is more about quality than about quantity, and I like that. That's the same way I think too.
Absolutely, same as well. Yeah, it's good to be able to have these conversations in like an open space where, maybe there are some people that are more experienced, but we're all on the same level and we can all learn a bit from each other, right?
Exactly. That's why my guides nudged me to share. In the beginning, I did not want to hang out my face on YouTube, but now I slowly start understanding more profound the concept of sharing, because that does not make another one smaller, does not belittle anyone, or heightens another one. That is kind of exchanging all on the same level. You know this, I know that. I miss this and you have that, so let's bring it all together.
Mm.
And this way, I think learning and growing is much more childlike and playful and brings a lot of fun.
Mm, I agree.
Should always have a grin in our face.
Yes. It's always good to laugh, you know. It's
Yes, it
always good
is.
to be childlike, and it's always good to be playful. I think as adults, especially in our society today, we tend to forget the importance of just having fun and just having a casual, fun conversation with someone, you know.
Yeah. Statistics say that children laugh around 40 or 50 times per day. A grown-up adult, maybe 8 or 9 times. So I think there is some disbalance. We can all laugh more and do things that uplift us and bring joy and happiness. There's this one saying in spirit world: if only half of the population of this planet would be happy for one day, all the negative kind of energy vampires that want to keep us down in fear and belittle us and keep us small, they would just starve, and we are rid of all this negative stuff because they feed off negative energy. So it's a good idea to care for good energy within yourself, and you might even infest others with that. What a wonderful infection, infected by happiness.
Infection of laughter, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
I'd like to leave it with that. People laugh more, breathe deep, and just enjoy the ride. We're all in this together. Where we go one, we go all, and we will meet in the light.
Yes.
So thank you very much, Dewayne, for our lovely little chat. I loved it. and have a nice and wonderful Sunday, the rest of it, and see you soon.
Thank you, Gabriel. It was a pleasure speaking with you. See you soon. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Blessings, liberation, and fortitude to all viewers, and laugh more. Bye.
Bye-bye.